What's going on, guys? It is in the 60s outside and I am stoked and I want to go riding, but we're going to do this today instead because I've been putting it off for too long. Today we are putting in TST Industries axle blocks, replacing the stock adjusters, and I got the spooled version, so we'll be putting some spools, which will get the back end way too high, but that's okay. I think it'll still be great, and these should be pretty easy to install. So, step one. There's a 19 millimeter and a 14 millimeter on either end to get your axle out. I have some blocks of wood under here to keep my axle in place. And you can already see why we should be replacing these stock pieces. So, pull your wheel off, get the chain out of there. Your brake caliper should stay in place. Hopefully. Nope. Make sure it's not going too far. That's not going in there. And yeah, let's get this replaced. The other thing we're doing is the other half of the man in the box axle spacers, replacing this one and the one on the other side, just with black units instead. I'll give you a close-up of the new versus the old adjusters now. Wow, right now? Yeah, right now. Okay, so why get new axle adjusters? Well, one, they look amazing. There are 2 chunks of aluminum plus a slider or spool, and they look great. But also because, as you saw earlier, these just fall out. There's nothing keeping them in your swing arm, and they're a pain in the ass once you go to put your axle back in. As far as prep work on these, all I did was tighten up this bolt with a little blue Loctite. I don't remember the torque value. I just did it pretty tight, and I think it was a 5. Yep. And then that's also a 5. Cool. The only thing I'm going to do before putting this in, oh god, as I'm dropping shit everywhere, is I'm just going to extend these out a little bit and get it kind of close to just dropping shit everywhere. Get it kind of close to where the stock one was, just so I'm not turning for forever once it is in place. Okay, and then now that I have that, I can match the second one. These are identical pieces, so both sides, left and right, are the same. The only difference being if you're spooling it or not, whether the spool is up or down. I did it so that the logo on there is the right side up, because that, to me, makes sense, and that is probably how they intended it to go. Even though that means that this spool is going to be even lower than where I was lifting from before, which is fine. We'll just get the ass end of the Grom way up in the air. So these are about the same length. These have more fine adjustment marks on here, so these look like they go down to the probably 1/8 of an inch rather than 1/4 of an inch, which should help us line everything back up when we're done. So the only other thing out of the box we need are these set screws. So once it's in place, you put it here, and this actually expands it out into the swing arm and helps it from falling back out again. So those, I think, are a 6. Yep. So we're going to take these back to the bike. All right, we're going to show you the install from this side because that is where I have more space for the camera. So our adjuster with this in slides in, and then here is where they say you may need a little bit of persuasion. Make sure it's all clean first. They don't want these falling out on you. Oh, I'm just gonna give that. Just with a nice soft dead blow or rubber faced, whatever you have is good. And once that's in, you can put your set screw into place. Like I said, this is just slightly opening it up in the channel to get even a better fit than was in there before. So TST has a torque value for this. Just, I don't remember what it is, and keep in mind you're going into aluminum, so slightly less than good and tight probably is what I would go with. Gotta get that off there. Cool. I'm gonna do the other side, and then we'll put the axle back in. Anyways, let's get these spacers swapped out. So stock versus man in the box. This is half the weight. Not that it super matters with weight this small, but matters a little bit, you know? And I'm a big fan of just greasing everything while I have it out. Little globs of bearing grease. Especially on the lips of these seals and into the bearing. We'll pop that one in. And then let's get this other one out. A little bit more grease. And I will also be greasing the axle before I slide that back in. Cool. I can hear some of you screaming right now about why aren't you doing the sprocket while you have the wheel out? You've been talking about it. There's a reason for that. I promise. When I do the sprocket, I'm going to a 14 tooth, and I really want to make sure that my baseline before and after speed numbers are actually accurate. So we are going to put in our adjusters first so that that is the same as everything else. I really should have put this, chain over first. Whoops. Well, this is going to be a pain. Heard you fall. There you go. I'm not gonna make you watch me struggle with this. So let's cut and I'll come back. The axle is back in. TST would have you leave out these little washers. I don't think that they're necessarily a bad thing. Pardon my shoulder. I'd rather have pressure spread out across the whole swing arm, because you know there's contact underneath and on the side rather than just on that aluminum bit and the side of the opening there. So visibility is slightly less as far as your actual adjusting blocks go, but I think that that's kind of a fair compromise. So from here, I'm gonna set my chain tension. I think it's 30 to 40 millimeters. I will correct myself in text if that is wrong. And then and then torque down my axle to 44 Newton meters, and then give you some final glory shots. I mentioned before these alignment marks. What I'm gonna do is basically go in, find my largest one, and then count back so that this opening of the window is the same here as it is over here. And then assuming that my chain tension is at the right length or right tension, and that this number or this mark showing matches on the other side, my wheel should be aligned and straight. And that's just one of the benefits of this, is there's more accurate marks. So I'm gonna do that. You don't have to watch me struggle with it, but we'll get some glory shots here in a second. Man, these look better already. I'm just saying, like, I'm slowly deleting all that silver off the bike, and I think they look good. They look tough. They look mean. Spools look tracky. All right, I'm done talking. I'm gonna get this tightened. Yeah, my chain is tensioned. Here's where my adjuster ended up, if you're curious at all, just with barely that third line peeking out there. Yeah, I think these look great. I will need to change my stand around to work with the spools. Spools have that different plate. You can see the man in the box spacers peeking out in there. And over here. And like I was saying before, you may ask, why aren't you doing the sprocket at the same time? Well, because I want to get a before top speed and an after top speed, because going to a 14 tooth sprocket to get more speed, dropping down one tooth to get more speed is kind of counterintuitive. Usually you do that to get more acceleration. So we're going to do that. That is today. One thing I will also mention, Motion Pro has a slack setter tool that makes doing chain super easy. You have your scale there, and you can basically just put your chain in this little notch, put the bottom of the swing arm here, and just move it up and down, and it'll show you on the scale how much slack you have. Works great, easier than holding a ruler or tape measure or whatever. And yeah, I'm gonna go hope that it's not raining right now so I can go set a top speed and maybe knock out sprocket and chain today. We will see, but I will see you in the next video. Bye.